Callie is aligned with some of the top luminaries of our time. Dr. Deepak Chopra, who was named in Time Magazine's top 100 most influential people, personally asked Callie to be one of his change agents. Callie's personal story of transformation is featured alongside a collection of luminaries, including the powerhouse Lisa Nichols from the hit, my absolute favorite, Law of Attraction movie, The Secret. Her book, Pebbles in the Pond, Transforming the World One Person at a Time, went to #1 bestseller in 24 hours of the launch last month. Her story is titled Transform Your Trauma into Your Triumph. Callie is dedicated to making the world a better place by empowering women and men, parents and children, educational systems, businesses, and organizations with life-enhancing tools to help them manifest their dreams. Please welcome Callie Meister.
Thank you very much. I'm just thrilled to be here, and I am so honored to have that wonderful introduction from Maria. And sometimes I ask myself, how did I get here to be with the top luminaries, and question myself? The question that I asked is, do I really belong? And the answer is yes. And the reason that is because of the way I show up. And I am going to share that with you so that you can show up in the same way. And today, I'm going to be sharing my personal story of trauma into triumph. But before I do that, I'm going to share the secrets, some of them, to help you so that when you have to deal with something, hopefully not like I had to, but something, because we all have traumas in our life, whether it means a lost relationship, or there could be numerous amounts. I'm not even going to start talking about them. But you all know, deep down in your heart, you know that there's something that you've dealt with, or many things that you've dealt with, that have been not so wonderful. So before I get into what I went through, I'm going to teach you about the vibration of the body. Some of you may know a little bit about this, but I'm going to go into this a little bit deeper. We had that wonderful meditation earlier, and we talked about chakras. Chakras are energy centers in our body. We have them all align our body here, and they have a vibration. And that vibration can change. There's a scale done by Dr. David Hawkins, and it's called the Scale of Consciousness. The scale of consciousness starts off very low and goes very high. I haven't written anything up here, but I'm going to use this to show the scale. So enlightenment is up at 700 to 1,000. We have love at 500, joy at 540, peace at 600. And then, of course, the 700 to 1,000 for enlightenment. Way down at the very bottom of that scale is shame at 20. Guilt at 30. And it works its way up to the love at 500, joy at 540. And that is a very, very, very important thing to know. Because if you're carrying shame or guilt about anything in your life, you're going to, when you think about that, you're going to resonate down here. When you're in love, you're going to be resonating up here. If you're at peace, you're up here. And that's really important because we know about the law of attraction. The law of attraction is that you attract things that are similar to you. So if you're down here, that's when a lot of negative things happen to your life, that come into your life. And as you raise up, more wonderful things come into your life. So having said that, I want all of you to think about what it is that is holding you back from being in a place of peace. That's 600. Place where you know that everything is just wonderful in your life. That you have the joy going on and you have the peace going on. Because that's really, really important. So, before I tell you my story, I'm going to tell you that I haven't always stood on my story. I used to stand in my story. When I stood in my story, I had fear, I had guilt, and I had shame. So much shame that even my closest friends didn't know what happened to me. Some of my closest friends that are in my life right now, that I've known for 8, 10, 12 years, did not know the secret that I was holding in my life. A little background about me. I was born locally here, just in Burnaby. Grew up in an upper middle class home. From the outside, everything looked wonderful. I lived in a beautiful house. We belonged to the yacht club. I went to private school. I had a smile on my face all the time. But what people didn't know about when the doors were closed was that I was living in a home that was plagued with alcoholism, and there was many secrets going on. At 17, there was a knock on the door, and I went running down to answer it. And there was a package there for me, so I signed for it. And the package, when I opened it up, was a last will and testament from a man named Albert Gill, saying that he was the father to me. At that moment, I felt crushed. I felt betrayed. And my heart was heavy. I still graduated with a big smile on my face, but deep down inside, there was a lot of pain. I went off to university, to UBC, and then decided that I wanted to get into psychology and sociology to kind of figure out what I could do about my life. And also because I knew that I love people and that I wanted to help them. I started my first adult relationship. Wasn't very good. You know how they say, kind of attract our father or stepfather in our life, if that may be, or that significant man. So, wasn't going very good, so I broke it off. Was working, going to school, loving it, because I was learning some rich, rich things. I was reading about law of attraction, and this was before The Secret was out. January 22nd, 1990, New Meister. Got into my little apartment, opened up a letter, and it was the acceptance to go into my second year. I was elated. I called my mother. She said, come on over for a celebratory dinner. So I grabbed my little puppy dog, put the letter in my purse, and made my way down the back stairs of my apartment building down to the garage door. You know those big, heavy cement doors? I opened up with the back because my hands were full. Saw my nice little red sports car across the parking lot, made my way over there. And I got to the car, and I went to put the key into the lock, and it wouldn't fit. So with my hands full, I walked around to the other side, went to put the key into the car door lock, and all of a sudden, bang! I fell to the ground. I didn't know what happened. I couldn't feel my legs. I completely was out of it, trying to figure out what just happened. And I looked over my shoulder, and there he was, my ex-boyfriend standing there with 2 rifles, one under each arm.
No.
Did you shoot me? He just stood there like a guard, never said a word. Jay, did you shoot me? Why would you shoot me? He looked straight at me. If I can't have you, no one can. He then took the rifle and he pointed it at my head. And he said, "Tell me why I shouldn't shoot you right now." I was thinking fast. And I started saying to him, "You love me. Don't do this. Don't do this. Leave. Just go now. Nobody will ever know. I won't tell anybody. Just go." I had the rifle at my head. I was praying that somebody would come down there and rescue me. I was trying to figure out what happened. Why did I hear one bang and both legs were numb? So as I lay there, I start rubbing my legs, with my hands, trying to find a bullet hole, because if I'm bleeding, I better stop it so that I don't die right there, because I knew that I wanted to live. There was a lot of things that happened that evening that I'm not going to go into complete details here. But after begging him, he left. But not before saying to me, "If I'm going to leave you here, I'm going to leave you here with nothing to live for." And my intuition in that moment told me that he was going to go after the people I loved. So, even though I was paralyzed from the waist down, I used my hands to pull my body across the cement floor. And I got myself into my car by pulling myself up and over the seats. I laid myself across the seats, and I had my head on the driver's seat. And I got the keys into the ignition and I started the car. I was able to pull the car door shut, even though you see my very long body here. I had to pull in those legs that I couldn't feel. And I prayed. I prayed in that moment, and I connected to that spirit inside of me, the same spirit that each one of you have. And then I maneuvered myself and that car, my little red sports car, out of that underground parking lot, out onto the street. And I yelled. And I yelled and I yelled until help came. And before the ambulance would let me, that I would allow them to put me into the ambulance, I insisted that they would call my mother and let them know that he was coming after them. And I left the car door locked with the window rolled down until I heard them call and heard my mother's voice on the other end as it was over walkie-talkie. Then they put me in the ambulance and they took me off to the hospital. When I got to the hospital emergency, in New Westminster there, Royal Columbian, they brought out an X-ray machine that came to the X-ray, to the bed there in the emergency room. They took the X-rays. And then, just as the doctor came over, I saw my mother and her husband come running through the door and by my side. The doctor held up the X-rays and said, "The bullet has embedded your spine and it's cut the main nerve. However, there's a few fibers left that are still intact, and there's a chance that you may be able to regain some use of your legs." When I heard chance, I held on to it because I was ready to live. I didn't want my life to be taken away from me. I just started to live. I was trying to figure out what I wanted to be in the world. I had big dreams. So I decided in that moment that I was going to walk again. And this was before the movie The Secret. I hadn't seen that yet. However, I did have some incredible basketball coaches that taught me in high school while I played sports to see the basketball in the basket before it leaves your hands. So I had done that for years. I wasn't the best basketball player, but I was dedicated to basketball. It was one of my outlets. And volleyball and other sports too. But I remember seeing the ball in the basket before it left my hands. So as I laid there, I saw my legs moving. And I couldn't even feel them at that time. I had a bullet hole like that in my back. He shot me point blank. So they knocked me out for a couple of days to go over the trauma. And when I woke up, I started to visualize with my toes to start with, and then my feet. I couldn't feel them, but somehow it was mind over matter. And I'd like to consider that it was spirit over matter. So first it was the feet, then it was the legs. And I couldn't feel them, but they got me up and walking, and with assistance, I was doing my daily exercises, and I was committed to moving, committed to taking action. And then there was this graduation to a walker. And I remember the day that my mother came to the hospital, and I was walking by myself with that walker along the hallway, moving along. And I remember the tears rolling down my mom's eyes. Because she saw the determination that nothing was going to stop me. And I didn't let it. And less than 2 weeks later, I walked out of that hospital with these legs that I stand here in front of you with today. And I committed myself in that moment to live the life of my dreams, to manifest what I wanted in my life. And I was dedicated to that. And I know that all of my experiences in my life have brought me here to where I am today. And because I have gratitude for all those experiences, I can stand here on my story and not in my story. I can stand here joyfully with peace in my heart to say that anything is possible, and to tell you that I know that dreams are possible. Dreams can come true, and that you can manifest what you want. Each one of you, whatever it is that you want, when you connect to that spirit inside of you, each one of you have it. You have a bright light inside of you. So anything that you feel shameful about, guilty about, or any of the other low vibrations, I encourage you to deal with them. It's going to take some work. And some things might be little small things. Some of them might be a lot bigger. But we've all been through something. And I give you my personal guarantee that if you release those things, those low vibrations that are in your energy field, that are slowing you down from being all that you can be, I promise you, your life will change. You will manifest your dreams. You will have all that you've ever dreamed of. You'll start to dream bigger. You start to know that anything is possible. So what I want to leave you here today for a really fun kind of ending for all of us to do is there's a power stance that you might see Wonder Woman does all the time, and it's standing like this. And if you look at all athletes, when they win at something, they stand up and they put their arms up in the air. And I want each one of us to do that now. And while we're doing that for the 2 minutes, I'm going to tell you why we're doing it. So I want everybody to stand up together. Put your arms in the air like this, like it's the YMCA. And know that right now, this means that you are in a power celebratory stance. Just like you cross the finish line, like you've already there. Like as if you feel it. I want you to feel it. Because what's happening right now is the cortisol in your body, which is the stress, is going down right now. And what is naturally happening in this stance is your body is being empowered. The energy is moving through you. You're right now letting go of negative energy. And this is the best thing to do before you go into a job interview. It's the best thing you can do before you go on the stage. If anybody saw me out in the hallway, that's what I was doing before I came up here. I was walking up, and I know a couple of you saw me. I had my arms up in the air, and I was out there doing this before I got on stage. I promise you, that's what I was doing. So I want you to know that right now, what I see in front of me are powerful, empowered women that I honor, each one of you, for the light that you have and for what you are doing in this world, for the way that you are showing up. And I thank you so much for sharing that light today, here together, collectively, and with me. Thank you.